Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Hopefully you guys all had a great weekend and you're ready to get back to the markets this week. We've had some interesting moves over the last several hours since the market opened, just about 24 hours ago or so. We'll talk about those. So far, it's been a pretty flat though as far as U.S. equities go. Oil hasn't really moved. Gold has moved a little bit. Dow and S&P are pretty flat. So overall, just pretty quiet there. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Also, we have a little bit of news today. Some monetary policy meeting minutes out of Australia in about 5 hours or so, and that can be a bit of a mover. So keep an eye on that. And some news out of New Zealand. Tomorrow we have, just as far as decently significant news goes, we have public sector net borrowing out of the UK. So, and the reason things the reason things are a little bit quiet and a little bit interesting is because we have FOMC meeting minutes coming up, and this is always that fun, crazy, wild mover, and markets might be just a little bit sideways until that news comes out. We do have retail sales out of Canada on Wednesday morning and existing home sales on Wednesday morning as well, but as far as significant news goes, Monday, Tuesday, it's pretty light. It's pretty light, so we'll just keep that in mind. Here is what we have going on with the euro dollar. It was all over the place. We had a nice reversal off of this level during the UK session, came down very nicely. It's right back up to that. This was brought on by some news coming out of Germany about there's really some wishy-washiness about whether they're going to back some bond buying or not. It sounds like Germany has also decided to just kind of push forward with Greece, and if Greece is not going to agree with the final terms that the ECB in Germany has set, that's it. And so the markets are really kind of all over the place, and we've seen a lot of news of is Spain going to get a bailout or not, and what exactly will be entailed in the big activity that the ECB might be up to. So until we get a little clarity out of that, things are probably going to be a little bit sideways. Levels to watch for sure. 124.40 is going to be a very important one as we move forward. You can see it. That's a high of the last. Just about the last 2 months, and that's been a very important one. If we get a break of that, that'll constitute a pretty nice trend line break and should get this pair going quite a bit to the upside. So we're going to keep our eye on that and see how that situation goes. And likewise, we're going to be looking for a couple of things such as some breakouts to the downside as well. Remember, we've got our Friday low here, and we've got some important levels just below 12300. So just below that 12300 should get very interesting. And as things kind of continue to bounce around here, I'd like to see an open above 123.75. I think that would confirm at least a run into 124.40, which again is this upper level here. So an open above 123.75 would invalidate this double top that we've seen right here and really get some nice movement going on there. So we're going to watch for that, as well as an open below 122.95. Anything in the middle, look for some short-term reversals off of these highs and lows, but anything in the middle is going to be a lot of chop. So be very careful with that chop. That's why I'm waiting for some opens outside of 123.75 and below 122.95. So just keep that in mind. Pound dollar, very choppy, very ugly, not interested in anything at all except for this break of this major double top right here, which is the 50% fib, give or take, on this run right here, and it's right around 157.75, 85 area. So above that, very interesting. Until we get above that, not super interested. And likewise, a break below, you can see on this 4-hour chart, we've got over the last two and a half weeks or so, we've got a pretty nice little trend line here. So a break and a dip into this lower trend line could get pretty interesting. So we're gonna keep our eyes on that, just kind of see where that goes. But if we get a break of that trend line, there's a lot of pips to get down there below, and a break of this larger trend line, and there's some even bigger runs. But again, the pound dollar needs to get out of this kind of ugly, messy channel, and as soon as it does, we should have some nice possible pips to be looking for. Keep an eye on this Friday low right here. Remember, Friday lows are always important, and there's our Friday low, which is about 156.75, and that's going to be an interesting level. So we get a break of that, and we could start to see some pretty decent downside and some movement from this trend line right there. So just keep that in mind. 156.75, a break below that. Otherwise, we need to get above about ultimately 157.50 and then 157.75, 80 area. But we're kind of in the middle and a lot of chop, so just be careful and don't get caught in that chop. We have some very nice levels, actually, some very, very nice levels on the euro yen. This one's looking really good. 97.75, our Friday low, our double bottom, everything right here is looking pretty good. Although we're going to come into some nice little support down here on our 200-day moving average and in some of that resistance area there. So it might be a little bit of a short-term run, but look for a break of 97.75. Below that, we should be able to take this pair into about 97.25.30 area is what I'll be looking for the initial target. So just a nice little 30, 40, possibly 50 pip run. Otherwise, you can see that I have marked up here 98.35, 98.35/60. So 98.35 is obviously this level right here. We have a nice little short-term double top, looking really good. But 98.60 is, we can see this a little bit better on the daily chart, is our 61% fib from this high to this low. So the last 700 pip range right there is that area. So we get a break above 98.60, and this thing could be easily headed up into the 101.50 area and beyond. So there's a lot of movement above that. But if it stays below that 98.60, again, a short-term run of 25 or 30 pips if we get above 98.35. But if it stays below that and starts getting below 97.75, we're going to look for some much bigger movement to the downside here. So we're going to keep our eye on that. And you can see that we've got a pretty nice little trend line in the works that could potentially be some of the next targets of a 100 pip run or so. So just keep an eye on that. Aussie dollar is on the short term only medium interesting, but it is worth keeping an eye on. You can see that we've got some little short-term activity here, and if we start to break some of those trend lines and so on, the Aussie dollar looks interesting. There's some resistance up here around 104.70, 80, 90, right in that general area, and you can kind of see that as the top of this descending trend line in this channel area. But it looks like the Aussie dollar might want to continue lower, so I'm watching for a break of this trend line right here. You can see that it broke out of our channel. We had a very nice channel in place here. Broke out of that, bounced off our moving average there, and has just kind of bounced a little bit. And what we're looking for is this going to be able to continue down through that? And so that's a big question. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. And then last but not least, we're just watching gold here. Gold has just broken above 1620, which was a perfect little high right here. And above 1620, we're just waiting for the next leg of movement, which will be 1625 is where the next big resistance is. You can see that level right about there. And then ultimately 1630. We get above 1630 and away things go. This is a much larger movement in the works if we get that. So I'm keeping an eye on that, looking for that whole situation to play out. But we're just watching those levels and ready for some of that movement. So keep an eye on all of these. Mark your charts. Be ready for the movement. But remember, don't get caught in the chop on this euro dollar or pound dollar. Euro yen's got a little bit tighter of a range, so it won't be so easy to get caught in that chop. But just keep an eye on those and be very careful. And remember that this is kind of a little bit of a quiet time before we get those FOMC meeting minutes, which are on Wednesdays. So there will be plenty of trading opportunities, just short term. So look for some quick profits in the meantime while that news comes up. So best of luck, everyone, and I'll see you guys in the chat.